At the same time, the flower spirit completely vanished. And at that moment, Yun's own life began its countdown. The instant the blood-red floral god mark started to form at her brow. With her current strength, Yun could only barely unleash a small fragment of the floral god mark's power. A faint and subtle energy fluctuation passed through the mark, vaguely guiding her toward a hazy direction. It seemed that there was a trial awaiting her at the floral god's sanctuary. But to reach that place, it was clear that much greater power would be needed to activate the floral god mark. With her current strength, it was far beyond her capabilities. Moreover, even if she did reach that place, the trial she would face was probably beyond the imagination of ordinary people. How could anything related to a god be simple? Hand that thing over to me, and I will spare you. The murderous intent in Demon Tuo's eyes slowly turned into greed. He never imagined that this person before him would be carrying a divine relic. Floral god, moon god, demon god, poison god, and so on. The ancient texts of the Great Thousand Worlds had never recorded any divine relics, but the countless divine relics that had been passed down through generations in the Great Thousand Worlds, could they all simply be rumors? In the Great Thousand Worlds, did the Doshin truly exist? No one could know, and no one had ever seen the existence of a divine relic. Perhaps someone had intentionally created these rumors about the many divine relics, or perhaps there were indeed gods residing in some unknown realm, watching over their little play. However, the fluctuation that had just emerged at Yun's brow seemed to surpass even the strength of an ordinary 8th reincarnation stage expert, possibly reaching the 3rd stage. Demon Tuo naturally considered it to be a divine relic. A divine relic was something far more valuable than even divine weapons or sacred flames. The appearance of a divine relic alone could stir a massive upheaval across the entire Great Thousand Worlds. Because divine relics might be linked to the legendary Doshin. What connection lay between divine relics and the Doshin? No one knew, but Demon Tuo was confident that if he could obtain the divine relic, he could seize the opportunity to pursue that legendary realm. If you want it, come and take it yourself. Yun leapt into the sky of the boundless fire domain, slowly spreading her flawless, jade-like hand. The flames and air in the boundless fire domain had, at some point, transformed into a colorful sea of flowers. The ethereal flower world lit up the entire boundless fire domain with an almost holy glow. Demon Tuo's figure surged, his body engulfed in dark energy as he stepped onto the flower sea, approaching Yun. She coldly snorted, and a sacred, divine flower bud began to manifest at her brow. This almost otherworldly white flower gradually covered the blade of the divine sword. When it filled the entire sword, the energy in the world suddenly quieted, as if only a serene, peaceful world existed. Break! A mighty sound echoed from the heavens. A beautiful figure with flowing hair waved her hand, sending a white sword beam across the entire boundless fire domain with a hum. The terrifying shockwave covered everything in darkness, as though all life would be obliterated under the attack. Seeking death. Seeing Yun's desperate move, Demon Tuo's body surged with demonic energy. A mysterious mark flickered on his large hand, then he clenched his fist. A flood of blood-red demonic energy erupted from his body, and he threw a punch. With a simple punch, the attacks of many powerful figures in the boundless fire domain were instantly obliterated. The blood-red energy morphed into a snarling dragon, twisting the very fabric of heaven and earth. The battle in the sky was impervious to all, but in an instant, Yun's body plummeted from the heavens, like withered flowers and broken willows. Around her, the floral god mark protected her vitality. The energy fluctuations from the floral god mark were even beyond Demon Tuo's reach. If he forcefully tried to strip it away, it might trigger a counterattack that would harm him. It was the will of the gods, the choice of the divine relic itself. He simply couldn't intervene, nor was he qualified to intervene, let alone strip it away. In that moment, the disdain and mockery in Demon Tuo's eyes completely vanished. His mind filled with bloodlust, and he slowly let out a mad, deranged smile. If he couldn't obtain it, then he would destroy it. Lady, the heavenly dragon and earth phoenix siblings, their faces grave, swiftly moved to catch Yun. This scene was too shocking and dangerous. An 8th reincarnation stage expert. Sigh. Yun sighed softly, weakly gazing at the overwhelming demonic energy surrounding Demon Tuo in the distance. Demon Tuo, this region was created by Xiao, a descendant of the Xiao clan. The 4th evil god, accompanied by countless demons, hid within the demon clouds, seemingly preparing to watch the battle unfold from a safe distance. Since that's the case, then die. Kill. Demon Tuo grinned and looked up at the 4th evil god and the others hiding in the demon clouds. Then, he clasped his hands together in prayer. Moments later, strange Buddhist seals and scriptures began to project from his body and the demon golem before him, each imbued with a bloody killing intent that uncontrollably surged out of him. The aura was terrifyingly powerful. Clearly, at this moment, Demon Tuo was not holding back. He was ready to unleash his trump card and destroy the entire boundless fire domain in one blow. Yin-Yang command. Command the Yin and Yang to break. Army of 10,000 ghosts. At this moment, a group of figures hiding in an inconspicuous escape passage in the boundless fire domain suddenly turned around, shocked. This world will be protected by us. Mu Feng's body shot forward, and with a swing of his divine artifact, an unprecedented surge of supreme evil energy was released. Countless eerie ghost soldiers swarmed forward, pushing back the encroaching demon clouds and lightening the load on the boundless fire domain. Form the battle formations. Unleash the array's power. Boundless fire domain. Fire god's heavenly extinction formation. Yuan Yan's pudgy face twitched slightly as core inscriptions poured out. He controlled the residual power formed by dozens of sacred flame seeds to create flame shields, safeguarding the boundless fire domain. Soul power. Water attribute. Yun Qi, the Guardian clan, and many other powerful beings continuously unleashed defensive techniques. Not even the faintest firefly glow could deter anyone from fighting. Seeing the actions of so many, Demon Tuo sneered disdainfully. So weak. With this kind of strength in his hands, they weren't even worth the effort. Descendants of the Xiao clan, all of you must die. Anything related to the Xiao clan must perish. Blame it all on the Xiao clan. Standing high in the sky, surrounded by the swirling scriptures of the demon golem, Demon Tuo seemed like an emperor at the end of time, cold and aloof as he gazed down at the world below. The demon realm stretched out endlessly, resembling a vast sea of demonic energy connecting to the gates of hell. Once it infected the world, it seemed like there would be no way to escape the endless cycle of torment. Within the fierce and ominous demon realm, a giant demon golem, radiating evil light, surged forward, directing its killing intent towards the high-ranking figures standing on the endless platform in the boundless fire domain. The combined force of the demon realm and the golem was like a crushing mountain range, carrying an overwhelming pressure and destructive power that collided with the endless platform. Boom! A deafening roar filled the air. The powerful beings atop the endless platform instantly froze. Their bloodlines seemed to seize, and even their internal power became momentarily unusable. It was as if the overwhelming force of the demon realm was impossible to dodge or resist. If it weren't for the dense sacred flames covering the endless platform, their lives would have likely been instantly consumed by the demon realm. Even so, the very fabric of space in the boundless fire domain seemed to be pierced by the combined powers of the demon realm and the demon golem, leaving it shattered and broken. Demonic energy poured into the air, and the land was twisted into a hellish scene. Deep, bottomless pits appeared across the domain, with crimson bubbles slowly rising from them. The world looked destroyed, and as the crimson bubbles exploded, the overwhelming demonic aura filled the entire boundless fire domain. From the pits, tendrils of demonic vines began to emerge, mercilessly reaching out to grab the weak humans within the fire domain. Anyone caught was easily bound and killed, their pure essence flowing into the pits, continuously feeding Demon Tuo, filling the abyss-like void inside him. The marks on his skin became even more pronounced. This scene was horrifying beyond words. A chilling and terrifying shock overtook the hearts of everyone in the boundless fire domain. Palaces and towers crumbled, and amidst the dust, the air was thick with the scent of blood. Demon Tuo was casually slaughtering everyone within the boundless fire domain. Taiji Heaven and Earth soared. Myriad flowers returned to nest. Yun wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, her power surging once more as she fearlessly dashed toward Demon Tuo, unleashing her ultimate skills. Seeing their leader's suicidal charge, the surrounding experts did not hesitate. Even if their actions seemed insignificant, they stood firm and continued to fight. At this moment, countless powerhouses from the boundless fire domain had their eyes bloodshot, their minds flooded with a chaotic rush of thoughts. They seemed fearless, disregarding life and death, unleashing their attacks without reserve. The scene was one of unparalleled intensity. This was a spirit, or perhaps a will that belonged solely to the boundless fire domain. Die. Looking at the fearless actions of those from the boundless fire domain, Demon Tuo shook his head lightly, perplexed by the actions of these ants. What was the difference between this and seeking death? Moments later, the demon realm and the demon golem fell together, pressing down like a vast celestial curtain, suffocating everyone beneath it. The demon golem, tired of this meaningless game, initiated its final strike. The sound of bones shattering, the explosion of souls, countless agonizing cries filled the boundless fire domain. Yet, despite the immense cost, the powerhouses of the boundless fire domain continued to surge with violent energy ripples, not a single person retreating. Even though they knew this was a doomed situation, the fear in their hearts seemed to have been completely replaced by rage. Across the countless mountains and pavilions of the boundless fire domain, the demon realm spread, with endless demonic energy writhing like bloodthirsty insect beasts, crawling over everything, consuming all in its path. Amidst this hellish scene, a true demonic shadow lay in wait. Despair and suffocation gripped the hearts of countless figures, and the oppressive atmosphere was overwhelming. The entire boundless fire domain seemed to transform into a hell on earth. No matter how many powerful individuals sacrificed their lives, they could never halt the spread of the demon realm. It seemed that destruction was merely a matter of time. Matriarch. The losses have already surpassed 30%. If this continues, blood flowed from the bodies of Yin Qi and other high-ranking members, a sense of sorrow filling the air as their veins boiled and burned. It seemed that under Demon Tuo's assault, no one was spared from suffering. Enough. You go. Floral God, Seeing this, Yun's jade hand slowly pressed to her brow, as if tearing at some ancient, ultimate seal, breaking her chains. Once that power was fully released, not only would Yun be doomed, even Demon Tuo and the others would not be able to cope with it. We will too. You, take the remaining bloodlines and seedlings, and make sure you survive. Watching their matriarch's selfless decision, no high-ranking member from the boundless fire domain retreated. Their power surged, and a sense of self-destructive heroism rose up. This world still needed them to protect it, though it seemed they would never live to see the day of prosperity and peace. Boom! At the moment when the many powerhouses' bodies began to burn, their glorious flames about to explode, a deafening low rumble suddenly echoed from the heavens, and a gigantic rift, like a breach in the sky, pierced through the barrier of the fourth evil god's demonic clouds, appearing out of nowhere. Crack! With a single sound, the spread of the demon realm and the evil demon golem seemed to be grasped by some ancient force, and instantly, they were crushed. The demonic energy scattered in all directions, and countless powerhouses had their self-destruct plans halted. Bloodied, they gazed up at the rift in the sky, where a swift light began to flicker. The light shifted from weak to faint, from faint to blinding. Yet, at this moment, it shone like a savior, striking a chord in the hearts of the boundless fire domain's people. Xiao Domain Lord has returned. Some started to call out, but the aura emanating from Xiao Yin was completely different from that of the figure before them. This is Tears welled up in Yun's eyes, and an uncontrollable wave of sadness swept through her heart. Who dares to ruin my plans? Seeking death? Demon Tua hesitated for a moment, then roared at the rift in the sky, his demonic voice low and terrifying. Even at the moment the light appeared, he could feel a hint of fear stirring within him. Heh, who are these insignificant creatures, spouting nonsense here? Don't they know that this realm is under my protection? Suddenly, a tall and handsome figure descended from the heavens, surrounded by a surging green demonic glow, as if an ancient emperor were awakening from his slumber. His cold, majestic voice echoed through the air. The Demon Emperor. At this moment, the people of the boundless fire domain could not help but breathe a heavy sigh of relief. The Demon Emperor? Seventh reincarnation stage peak? The demonic energy behind Demon Tua ceased to surge, his gaze fixing on the figure with a serious expression, even the skin between his brows rippling as if something was about to emerge. Holy flame! What power is this? The Demon Emperor's strength was extraordinary, and his identity mysterious. Yet, at this moment, there were traces of white flames scorching the edges of his clothing, with a divine power that rivaled even the sacred flame itself. Deputy Lord of the Demon Realm Center, the Demon Emperor, huh? As this figure appeared, a profound silence suddenly fell over the entire world. The waves of power emanating from him were suffocating. Fine, today, I will let you all fall here completely. In an instant, the surrounding demonic clouds churned, and from them stepped forth an eerie figure, shrouded in a vast expanse of demonic energy. The fourth evil god from the extraterritorial evil clan, Dream Soul Nightmare, at the half-step 8th reincarnation stage. With the presence of the Demon Tua, who was now filled with hostility toward the boundless fire domain, before them stood a powerful figure at the 8th reincarnation stage. These were two true experts of the highest order. The fourth evil god? Demon Tua looked at the somewhat sinister figure beside him, his expression turning displeased. The Demon Emperor's power and background are shrouded in mystery. With only your strength, you cannot completely suppress him. Let us join forces. Don't worry, we were sent by the Buddha to rescue you. The voice of the fourth evil god was dark and heavy, each word instantly dispelling the wariness in Demon Tuo's heart. For him, as long as he gained Demon Tuo's trust, after dealing with the boundless fire domain, even someone as powerful as Demon Tua would not escape his grasp. Since that's the case, let's meet this legendary Demon Emperor. A chilling, evil voice rang out, and a true battle of the heavens slowly began to unfold. At that moment, as the evil army of the fourth evil god lay hidden in the demonic clouds, pure heavenly screens began to gather from the outside. Within the pure white light, several graceful figures appeared. They were powerful, as if in pursuit of some great foe. Report to Lord Seer, we have locked onto the Demon Emperor's trail. His presence remains in the area ahead, but... A voice began to emerge from the light. But what? The lead figure's gaze was calm, almost disdainful, as she maintained an air of quiet arrogance, both in tone and expression. The area ahead is the Boundless Fire Domain, the headquarters of the so-called Endless Flame Alliance. It is said that the leader here is Xiao, a figure nominated by the Angel Queen. Furthermore, we've even detected the fourth evil god's presence there. The voice from within the light sounded concerned, as the Endless Flame Alliance was vast, with many forces and powerful figures. Stirring up trouble there would come with severe consequences. Xiao, the fourth evil god? Upon hearing this, the beautiful eyes of the leading figure in the light flickered with a hint of excitement. She had been sent by the Slaughter Angel. Even though Xiao was an important figure nominated by the Angel Queen, he held no sway over her. Let's move. Change our target. Focus on the fourth evil god, and leave the Demon Emperor for now. In an instant, several figures disappeared, heading toward the Boundless Fire Domain. However, behind the leader, a pair of wings appeared, 8 wings, in a strikingly eerie purple. Attack! Demon Tua and the fourth evil god exchanged a glance. They understood the Demon Emperor's formidable nature, so they did not dare to be careless. Although the Demon Emperor's power was at the peak of the 7th reincarnation stage, combined with the Immortal Secret and the Divine Path power, even if the two of them teamed up, victory was not guaranteed. Boom! Facing the powerful alliance of the two, the Demon Emperor slowly drew his demonic weapon, the sky-splitting demon spear. A cold gleam flashed from the spear, already filled with overwhelming battle intent. A thunderous hum burst forth from the spear. The sky-splitting demon spear was gently raised, and a towering spear light flashed, containing the images of countless beasts running and roaring. It shot forward like a bolt of lightning, aiming directly at the two opponents. Its speed was so fast that it could not be tracked by the naked eye. Numerous experts held their breath, seeing only a flash of strange lightning before them, unable to catch its exact trajectory. The oppressive force that surged forth made it hard to breathe. Dream Tomb. The attack came too quickly, and the fourth evil god, unable to react in time, could only use the dark evil power surrounding him to resist. Demon Defense. Demon Tuo's dark eyes flared, his gaze fixed tightly on the Demon Emperor. They were both contemporaries of great strength. Although they had never fought before, their names had already spread throughout the Great Thousand Worlds. Now, with his power at the 8th reincarnation stage, Demon Tuo knew there were still many limitations. It wasn't enough to deal with the Demon Emperor. But what was this divine power surrounding the Demon Emperor's body? A crazy thought slowly emerged from Demon Tuo's mind. Boom! The overwhelming radiance collided like meteorites, creating a devastating shockwave that exploded at an altitude of 10,000 meters. The attack failed, but the three remained unharmed, each hovering in the sky at 10,000 meters, forming a strange triangular standoff. At their level, victory and death often hinge on a single thought. So, this is your reliance? 2 8th reincarnation stage powerhouses, and yet this is all you can do. Watching this, the Demon Emperor casually waved, causing the malevolent aura enveloping the entire boundless fire domain to rapidly dissipate. A soft, protective demonic energy surrounded Yun and the others. Still so arrogant even with death approaching, countless vengeful souls began to appear behind the fourth evil god, as if preparing an incredibly terrifying killing move. I don't have time to waste with you. Leave the boundless fire domain, or die. Moments later, the Demon Emperor, holding the demon spear, showed no signs of defense and coldly sneered. Ha ha ha. Demon Emperor, it seems you still haven't recognized the current situation. Faced with the Demon Emperor's actions, Demon Tuo was first stunned. Then an overwhelming killing intent surged in his eyes. You are injured. Your disguise is good, but with your severely wounded body, you are now just courting death. Moments later, a strange light suddenly flickered in Demon Tuo's crimson eyes. Without any fluctuation, it enveloped the Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor's robe instantly tore, revealing patches of shriveled scales. On these scales, tiny white flames flickered, as though some indestructible force was slowly burning the Demon Emperor. Kill him. At this moment, both Demon Tuo and the fourth evil god showed no hesitation. With every gesture, their overwhelming evil aura made the surroundings tremble. Meanwhile, the newly regained calm of the boundless fire domain was shattered as the fourth evil god led his forces to attack. A true man born in this world. Who can stop me? Facing the attack of the 2 8th reincarnation stage powerhouses, the Demon Emperor remained unmoved, snorting coldly. The domineering demon spear behind him suddenly drew out. With a single thrust, countless images of birds and beasts tilted downward, carrying an unparalleled demonic power that shook the heavens and earth. Even with his hidden injuries. So what? Could an injured 8th reincarnation stage and a peculiar 8th reincarnation stage powerhouse block him? Preposterous. Is this the battle of the strongest? Countless powerful beings watched the battle in the skies, their desire for strength deepening. After a brief exchange, the Demon Emperor's figure in the sky began to look disheveled. Whether intentional or not, The two evil powerhouses seem to have the upper hand in this level of combat. All reincarnation stage experts, prepare to assist the Demon Emperor. Yun's face was cold. The number of semi-demonic gods and other strong beings around was overwhelming. If the Demon Emperor were to lose, the entire boundless fire domain would face calamity. Demon Emperor, even someone as powerful as you can be injured one day. Your life will be ended by our hands. The mocking voice descended with a wave of evil radiance. Is that so? Look above your heads. What is that? At that moment, a malicious smile appeared at the corner of the Demon Emperor's mouth. It seemed the battle just now had only been a delay. Stop with the empty threats, today you. Wait, what is this fluctuation? Finally, the fourth evil god and demon Xiao glanced up, ready to eradicate the Demon Emperor, only to see divine light slowly spreading from the top of the world. The sacred power within it caused both their powers to stir, filling them with fear. Above the boundless fire domain's firmament, pure white halos began to form in circles, as if energy ripples were spreading from the gap in the sky where the Demon Emperor had descended. As the halos rippled, white feathers scattered freely, their power causing the previously trembling boundless fire domain to temporarily settle. It was as if some supreme divine power, unbreakable by any force of the world, was being invoked, evoking reverence. This is... At this moment, the exhausted Yun and the others below looked up, their hearts racing as they seemed to realize something. The pure white halos and feathers emerging from the sky's gap made the evil auras attacking the boundless fire domain rapidly retreat, as if a terrifying existence capable of destroying them at will was descending. The pure white wings gently spread out, and among the countless overlapping layers of wings, there was a deep sense of hatred and disdain for evil forces. 5 angels. Among them, the leader's appearance and power had reached an entirely new level. The wings behind her gleamed with an otherworldly purple hue, an aura of unmatched nobility, shining like the dawn's sacred flame. Purple, 8-winged seraphim, with the power of half-step 8th reincarnation stage. He, angel? At this moment, the fourth evil god and demon Xiao exchanged a glance. Their pride immediately shattered, and a creeping fear began to fill their hearts as they gazed at the 5 angelic figures soaring in the sky. So, you finally arrived? I thought you had lost track of us. The Demon Emperor laughed heartily, feeling the pressure on him lessen as he watched the powerful beings appear. What? The Demon Emperor's words caused a storm of shock to erupt. These 5 angels were here to hunt him down? Demon Emperor, you trespassed into the forbidden grounds of our angel clan and even injured several cherubim. The angel kingdom will never let you go for this. But before that, we have more important matters to address. The leader's voice echoed, her clear eyes locking onto the fourth evil god and demon Xiao. The angel kingdom had always stood in opposition to evil and demonic forces, and in their eyes, the eradication of evil took precedence over all else. What? The fourth evil god, demon Xiao, Yun, and the others were stunned by the words. The angel kingdom, a place beyond imagination, was not somewhere anyone could simply enter. The Demon Emperor had actually infiltrated their realm and even wounded several cherubim and left unscathed? Wasn't the Demon Emperor only recently promoted to the 7th reincarnation stage? And yet, the Angel Kingdom's power was undeniable, with even true 9th reincarnation stage beings among them. What kind of secrets lay within? It was just a matter of investigating a few obscure affairs. The Demon Emperor's voice was cold, but everyone could hear the deep hatred he held for the Angel Kingdom. This debt will be settled later. Yes, it will eventually be settled in full. With your strength, you are still unable to deal with 2 8 reincarnation stage experts at once. How about we join forces? Though the Demon Emperor and the Angel Kingdom had many grievances, with the extraterritorial evil clan currently in control, he decided to put aside his prejudices for now. After all, the 5 angels' strongest member was merely at half-step 8th reincarnation stage, while the others were around the 6th reincarnation stage. We don't need your help. The leader of the angels snarled arrogantly, and her cold voice rang out. The endless purple wings began to stir, causing the entire sky to tremble, as if some angelic force was gathering and surging. The angel kingdom had always been swift and decisive in its actions. Since they had encountered the fourth evil god here, they would never let him go. Such annoying pests. The fourth evil god felt the surrounding void become locked by the angelic power. He knew this was part of the Demon Emperor's plan. Boom! The Demon Emperor charged forward, engaging in a fierce battle with Demon Tuwa. It seemed that there were mysterious markings inside Demon Tuwa that prevented the angels from completely erasing him. However, in their previous exchange, the Demon Emperor had held back his strength, and now, in their second encounter, he forced Demon Tuwa into retreat after retreat. Damn! The fourth evil god felt his mind falter, and a wave of fear surged within him as he faced the 5 angels. 4 7-winged cherubim and 1 purple 8-winged seraphim. Such a formidable lineup would even be a challenge for Demon Tuwa at his peak. After all, the angelic power within the angel kingdom was not something to be underestimated. Angelic judgment. Without hesitation, the 5 angels formed a perfect line and began chanting their sacred angelic incantation. The resounding divine voices swept across the heavens, instantly dissolving countless evil auras. Countless figures looked up and saw strands of pure white light rising from the void outside the boundless fire domain. The dark clouds of evil forces, filled with the fourth evil god's numerous armies, were pierced and hunted down effortlessly. The strands of light eradicated all the demonic clouds, restoring peace to the outer edges of the boundless fire domain. Yet, they began to gather at the far reaches of this world. In mere moments, the vast army of the fourth evil god was completely obliterated. This was the supreme power of the angel kingdom? This was the might of the 8-winged seraphim? With only 8 wings, it was already this powerful. What about 10 wings? Or the legendary 12 wings? How much destruction could that bring? Even a true 9th reincarnation stage expert would likely be powerless against such force. What? At this moment, even the heavenly dragon and earth phoenix siblings sensed a real threat from the combined powers of the 5 angels. The angelic chant sung by the 5 angels gathered all the threads of light between heaven and earth, sacred and pure, as though no power could break through the binding and suppression of angelic power. After countless sacred forces merged, they unexpectedly transformed before the seraphim seer into a pure white heavenly cage, filled with powerful restrictions and a pure divine force that radiated the utmost sanctity. Once such an attack descends, the fourth evil god will certainly be suppressed. However, this overwhelming sacred fluctuation, once it falls, will likely cause catastrophic damage to the entire boundless fire domain. At best, countless powerful beings will be slaughtered here. At worst, over 70% of the boundless fire domain's territory could be reduced to ruins, leaving nothing alive. The humans living there will naturally not escape the doom. In this moment, Yun's previously relaxed face turned cold and solemn again. It seemed that the 8-winged seraph, who commanded extraordinary angelic power, hadn't considered the safety of the boundless fire domain at all. In her eyes, her goal was solely the fourth evil god. Once she captured the fourth evil god, she would gain immense resources, and the survival of the boundless fire domain had nothing to do with her. Even if someone questioned her, she could simply offer any excuse. How could a mere force like the boundless fire domain compare to the vast angel kingdom? Angel Queen's nomination? Xiao? Not worth mentioning at all, as she was commanded by the slaughter angel. Seraphim Seer, what are you doing? At this moment, the Demon Emperor, who had been gaining the upper hand in battle against Demon Tuwa, suddenly turned around. He stared at the slowly forming heavenly cage, as the massive angelic power surrounding it gradually shattered the boundless fire domain. At this rate, the danger of the extraterritorial evil clan's attack might be eliminated, but the entire boundless fire domain would inevitably be destroyed under the power of Seraphim Seer's forbidden technique. The forbidden technique's power was roughly on par with that of celestial techniques, but with the 8-winged purple seraph leading the chant and assisted by the powers of the other 4 angels, Its power had surpassed ordinary celestial techniques, approaching the level of the most elite divine arts. Once such a majestic, sacred, forbidden technique descended, no being within the boundless fire domain would have any chance to survive. The destruction of this lower realm has nothing to do with me. Our existence is to erase evil and heresy. Once I capture the fourth evil god and bring him to the Angel Kingdom's holy city, I will personally capture you. Those who disturb the order of the Angel Kingdom can never escape our eternal pursuit. Facing the Demon Emperor's furious reaction, Seraphim Seer smiled, her expression cold and merciless. I admit defeat. But this time, even a powerful being like the Demon Emperor has miscalculated. You sought to summon Angel Kingdom's experts to save the boundless fire domain, but in the end, you'll bury the entire domain. At this moment, the fourth evil god chuckled, fully aware that the situation was lost, and made no desperate moves. Rather than saying you are hunting the fourth evil god, it's more accurate to say you are purging, or indirectly annihilating the boundless fire domain. You're afraid? Indeed, the Xiao clan's encirclement, you Angel Kingdom also participated in it. At this moment, the Demon Emperor's tone and attitude changed dramatically. So what? The pinnacle of this world will always be controlled by a few. Though the Xiao clan is strong, they are not suitable. And those who encircle the Xiao clan are not few. The enemies you've been searching for may be scattered throughout the Great Thousand Worlds. You are about to make enemies of the entire Great Thousand Worlds. Do you think you can win? Seraphim Seer slowly shook her head, clearly aware that the Demon Emperor had secretly investigated the various forces in the Great Thousand Worlds joining in the encirclement of the Xiao clan. Perhaps, but right now, you should stop. Stop? Why should I stop? In that case, I won't hold back. At this moment, the Demon Emperor's body began to emit a faint golden glow, as if extraordinary divine power from the dawn of time was surging, unaffected by the angelic power's constraints. Boom! With a casual movement, the power of the divine path spread out, and the supreme force of heaven and earth immediately pressed Demon Tuo's body back into the abyss of Tianqing continent. Then, wielding the power of the divine path, the Demon Emperor raised the sky-shattering demon spear and slowly aimed it at the five angels, sending waves of terrifying energy throughout the world. Demon Emperor, what are you doing? At this moment, Seraphim Seer's face suddenly changed. The power of the divine path, combined with the Demon Emperor's innate domineering demonic force, was now aimed at the four angels beside her, ready to strike. What am I doing? Why don't you ask what you are doing? The Demon Emperor exerted all his strength, channeling the power of the divine path, and suddenly launched the sky-shattering demon spear. A cold gleam flashed, and immediately a colossal, majestic shadow surged from the demon spear, shaking everything in its path. Above the horizon, though the heavenly cage had been formed, its power was greatly diminished, and the four angels surrounding him vanished in an instant. In the blink of an eye, the four angels were struck down by the Demon Emperor's attack. The angel blood and angel wings on their bodies seemed to be instantly pierced, absorbed, and devoured by that eerie spear. A sense of dread surged through the heavens. One strike erased four seven-winged cherubim? Russell, Demon Emperor, thank you. With the angelic power of the four cherubim gone, the heavenly cage suddenly cracked open. The face of the fourth evil god, who had been suppressed, twisted into a sinister grimace. Without hesitation, he twisted his hand and tore open a spatial rift, attempting to escape. I never said you could leave. Boom! The demon spear reversed once more, directly impaling the fourth evil god's body back into the heavenly cage. The power of the divine path sealed him in, cutting off all his escape routes. Demon Emperor, you're openly declaring war on the Angel Kingdom. Do you think we're powerless against you just because you possess the secret of immortality? At this moment, a manic light filled the pupils of Seraphim Seer. This Demon Emperor, right under her nose, had once again wiped out four cherubim. Cherubim with 6 wings and above were the backbone of the Angel Kingdom. To see them perish one after another in her hands came at too great a cost. and the Demon Emperor's act of wiping out 7-winged cherubim seemed to be part of a dark scheme to secretly gather angelic power. His actions were nothing short of bizarre. "Today, you will pay for this." A high, resounding voice echoed again, and Seraphim Seer seemed to be tapping into even more sacred angelic power. This is troublesome. Watching the manic Seraphim Seer, the Demon Emperor's heart stirred with confusion. Entering the angel kingdom, his body had already been wounded and sealed by angelic power in several places. Now, facing the maddened 8-winged purple Seraphim Seer, while still needing to protect the safety of the boundless fire domain, it was indeed a daunting challenge.